and it was talking about, there's I think she called it a floating sauna. So I'm assuming it's a sauna like at the end of that dock or pier or something like that. So you go into the sauna, and then you plunge into like Sept. And I'm like, that's not fine, except we're gonna be very different.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. If you haven't heard me say it yet, I am really glad to be back from sabbatical. This sabbatical for me was even better than I could have imagined. I tried to hold very few expectations, but it was exceeded anything that I had. I wanted to share something I read recently, which I feel kind of describes my own pilgrimage, and then talk a little bit about us on this pilgrimage. This is by Scott Erickson. He says, "There's a treasure in your life waiting for you. You go on a pilgrimage to try and get that treasure, but you don't find the treasure in the foreign land that you are visiting. What you find in the other land is the key in which you bring home to open the treasure awaiting for you back in your everyday life." So that is, informed my own pilgrimage and sabbatical. And I wanted to say a little bit, thank you for reminding me of this, Amy. When I got a sabbatical at St. Bridget, I applied to the Lilly Foundation and was awarded. And the Lilly Foundation gave a lot of money for me and our congregation to go on sabbatical together. So it wasn't just for the clergy person, it was for events for the congregation, so that when the congregation and the clergy came back together, they had experiences to share with one another. It wasn't like one person went off and they're gonna come back and share all their brilliance that they got or highlights, but it was a wonderful thing for both to come back. And we had a sabbatical team that created events for this congregation to take part in, should they choose. And then also to think of their summer vacations, or maybe we talked about pilgrimage being some accidents sometimes that we encounter that takes us in a different route, but to consider our summers as pilgrimages in different ways. So that's what these 2 sessions are gonna be like. They're not just me and my dog and pony show, what I did, but also what we did in preparation for this and what we did, what the congregation did while I was away. So just that preview.
Thank you, Felicia. Good morning, everyone. We can do the first slide. So this group of pilgrimages began when you started planning your sabbatical, right? I think, and then you talked to the vestry, and then we formed a committee. So this is a long time, many months that we are kind of trying to integrate. And whether you participated in any of our pilgrimages or not, you were on your own pilgrimage. So we can go to the next slide. A few things as we integrate this week and next week, and this is just the beginning of integration. This is kind of walking up with our key, maybe, back home. Yeah. We have a lot of integration to do. Integration takes time. But a few things that I want to speak about, just cautions or invitations. So, and a lot of this we talked about before Felicia left too, but I'll remind you if you were here back then. A lot of pilgrimages are hoped to be, or actually are, peak experiences. We go and we have sometimes literally peak experiences. You have some mountain experiences. My favorite scriptural story about a huge pilgrimage and how we might integrate is the story of the Transfiguration. You remember Jesus goes up on this mountain and his friends are like, oh my gosh, this is a great big deal, so let's make a shrine. He says, stop it, don't do that. Well, let's tell everybody, don't do that. That should be our guidance too. We want to sometimes make a shrine to an event that happened in our lives without going home, thinking that the event is the thing and not the key, right? A little aside about Transfiguration at Mount Athos, where I will never go, but maybe some of you have been. Mount Athos is an area in the mountains in Greece where there are many, many monasteries. No women can go there. But the highest shrine there, the highest sacred point there, is dedicated to the story of the Transfiguration. And they keep creating physical shrines there that keep being destroyed by lightning. And I think that's God's little reminder to us, like, don't build the shrine to your experience, live into your experience. Though that key that we come home with is sometimes it's called a boon. We learned about this when we talked about the hero's journey. So some of us this summer, this spring and summer, might have gotten boons. That might be a message, that might be a question that arose for you. And next week, we're really going to talk in terms of the questions and the things to ponder that came to Felicia's heart for our congregation, but also to all of our hearts for our congregation. This is a collective. We each went on our own journeys, but this is a collective. So next week, we're going to start sharing some of those boons. A lot of times, we don't know what they are right now. This might be years in the future that we can look back and say, oh, I now understand what that message was. Father Richard Rohr always has this saying that he uses, which I try to remember. He says, when talking about these events that happen to you, don't give away your gold until it's your gold, meaning until it's yours, until you've integrated and understood, and until it's gold. I think probably some of you have had the experience of sharing an event too soon before you really understand what it means. And sometimes somebody else then helps you create that narrative. That might be helpful. Sometimes it's not helpful. I know I've had the experience of sharing without thinking about who I'm sharing with. Have you ever had that experience? And you might feel kind of dropped or deflated because they're not able to understand your experience. So just a word of caution about when and who and how we share. And the last piece I want to say is, it's not only okay to be disappointed after any pilgrimage, it's to be expected. So sometimes we're disappointed because we made huge expectations. Felicia said she was really careful about, but it's so hard. I mean, we are humans. We are programmed to think of the future. We are programmed to get excited about things. We are programmed to make up stories. And so whatever happens is never going to be exactly like our expectation. So coming back home, we might feel disappointment. That's absolutely natural. That's actually the way that all life goes, right? It's the way the universe goes. We expand and then we contract. After every big experience, anyone who has raised a little one and taken them to a party knows there's an expansion and there's a contraction afterwards. That's your breath. That's everything. So it's easy to feel kind of disappointed, like, oh, I'm just back here. I have to give a sermon or I have to do this. Please don't be hard on yourself if you feel any kind of disappointment. One last thing, when we're thinking about our own pilgrimages, which we'll do in a little bit, I will guide us through thinking about where we've been this spring and summer, individually and collectively. I want to remind you what we talked about in the spring, and that some pilgrimages are not physical, right? The big pilgrimage for me during this time was us walking our little kitty home to death, right? So expansive, be expansive in your thinking, not only thinking about huge trips like Felicia went on, but where did God lead you in this past 6 months? We're talking about 6 months, okay? So now I think you get to do your slides. I kept asking, do you not just want to do the whole thing and talk, give us slides all the time? Nope.
No, it's about us, it's not just about me. So in planning for this sabbatical, there were several places that had arisen for me over the last, say, 10 years that I had heard about. You know, I'm kind of this person, maybe you are too, when you hear about a book you should read, on the third time, I'm going out to buy that book. And that's kind of how these places arose for me in designing a pilgrimage for sabbatical. And Iona was one of those places. I kept hearing about it. And some of you know I was the priest at St. Bridget before coming here, and it was named after a Celtic saint. And so I had visited Ireland, but I had never visited Iona. And Iona is known by many as a thin place, a place where the veil between this world and the next is very, very thin. So I wanted to go. So this started the pilgrimage. I was on the island of Iona, which is about 3 miles long and 1 mile wide, something like that. And it takes a lot of different transportation methods to get there. I was very nervous about that because, yeah, they speak English there, but I had to take 2 trains and 2 ferries and a bus in order to get there and do this in 1 day. Fortunately, Jane Friedland, who had been many times, helped walk me through that. We got most of my tickets ahead of time. And then I had this grace of meeting someone in Glasgow. And I was told to get on the train in the front cabin because the train on the way there splits and the back part goes in a different direction and the front part goes in another. I'm like, oh God, please let me get this right. How do I get this right? And standing in the line was a woman, and I said, do you know if this is going to our end destination? She goes, I hope so. And I said, where are you going? And she said, I'm going to Iona. And I said, me too. She was a Canadian, and she was going to volunteer at the Abbey for 6 weeks. And so I had a partner, and I felt like I was being cared for, and very thankful to meet her. Her name was Anna. So Iona was where, the Abbey is where, it's an ecumenical group that publishes and holds services in the Abbey. They also offer retreats. I was not on one of the retreats, but I stayed in a hotel, St. Columba, right next to the Abbey. And every day they have services at 9 a.m. in the morning and 9 p.m. in the evening. And so those services bookended my day. They have a bell that rings. You can hear it all over. And also the sun sets a lot later in Scotland, because of how far north it is. So we would get out of those services and it would still be light until like 10:15, 10:30. And I'd go and still wander around at that time. So this is the inside of the Abbey. It looks very old. However, it was rebuilt only within the last 100 years by a lot of different people. Those people sit in the choir loft, as you can see kind of up there. They flank each side. And one thing I really liked about this configuration is that the person leading was in the center, not like an airplane at the very far, but very centered. And I'll share a little bit more about one of the takeaways for me of this worshiping community next week. But I worship there every day, twice a day. On the far right is a view from Dun 1, which is the highest hill, I think, on the island of Iona. So I did a lot of walking, and that was one of my walks. And I spent a lot of time on the beach, which I don't have any pictures to show, but next slide. I made the trek out to St. Columba's Bay. This is where they believe St. Columba came and landed when he came from Ireland to Scotland. It took me quite a while to get there, even though the island's not that long. And at the end of at this bay, they have a labyrinth. And I was destined for this labyrinth. And so I went and I hung out on the beach for a little while, and then I decided kind of what I was going into the labyrinth, what I was carrying with me to walk the labyrinth. And I love this little image. You might wonder what it is. It has a flower, and behind it is sheep dung. And I just love the contrasting images of that as we walk the labyrinths in our own lives of what is present, both and. Next
So
slide.
sheep pooped in the labyrinth?
There were sheep everywhere, and they were, yeah, not in
You
cage.
think it was walking it? Was
What's that?
it walking the labyrinth?
No, it wasn't. I didn't see that, but maybe at night, maybe at night. So I was on the island for a week, and then I took the ferries and the trains and the bus back to Edinburgh, where I flew out and met Ernesto, Pastor Ernesto, my friend, in Lisbon. We spent a few days in Lisbon, and then we went to Fatima, which is also a holy site for Catholics, where there was an apparition of Mary to young children. And then from Fatima, we went to Porto, and that's where we began our walk. So the first portion of the walk, we started on the ocean. We didn't take the coastal route all the way up because we wanted to go inland, but we missed a lot of industrial area by taking the coastal route. So that there were lots of boardwalks. This is me on the left, walking the boardwalk. And then Ernesto and I in our shadow as we walked. And then these are the signs that point the way. The yellow arrow with the blue background are all around. And you also have this handy app on your phone with GPS if you get lost, because we did get lost a few times. Next slide. Oh my gosh, was it beautiful. So many beautiful, beautiful sights to behold. Lots of churches where I went in and lit candles for St. Paul's and for other people that I was praying for along the way. The next slide. Friends along the way. The first group on the left, we met these women, Canadians. Like I said, I met a lot of Canadians on this trip. And you tend to, unless you're really young, you tend to block out how far you're going to walk each day. And ours was manageable for our age and who we were. And they happened to be pretty much, except for the youngest one in the middle, on the same trek. So we would run into them in the cities and have dinner with them and visit. We really enjoyed our time with them. We're still in touch. The next group, both from Czechoslovakia. They were Czechs. One was living in Spain at the time. They just met. The gentleman was walking because he lost his son not long ago, and that's what he was walking for. And then a French family, father, mother, and their daughter, who we kept running into along the way. And then the far right is a table in one of the albergues. They weren't all this nice, let me tell you. But the woman that ran this albergue, this was her ministry. She saw it that way. And she made a meal for people where she laid out, a tablecloth and flowers. And the conversations that occurred around that table were fantastic. Next slide. So this is after 160 miles. And we made it to St. James in Santiago, and this is the cathedral. And we intentionally decided that we were going to arrive very, very early in the morning, so there aren't a lot of people, you might notice. Most of the time during the day, it's crowded with people. And people are, taking pictures, and there's music playing and high-fiving each other, crying. Some people who have walked for 40 days. It took Ernesto 40 days the first time he walked. They're seeing people they haven't seen in a long time. They've accomplished something they set out to do. So a lot of emotions. But we wanted to get there early in the morning to kind of, soak it in the way that we wanted to soak it in. And we visited many times in the next few days to see the commotion. But there's my friend, very excited to get there, and me in my little subdued way.
How many days had it been before you got to that point then?
2 weeks,
Okay.
yes, 2 weeks. Someone said, well, you took the shorter path. Well, there are many, many paths that make it to Santiago. Some start in Italy, some start, the very tip south of Spain. Some start in the further south than we did in Portugal, some start all over
Some
Europe,
start in France.
some start in France, yeah.
You can start in Dublin.
I don't have slides of it, and it might appear next week, but after we finish the Camino, and you might notice, it says, here's where the Camino begins. It's that integration piece that Amy was referring to, because at that point, you don't know kind of what's going to stand out, what's going to make the impression, what is it God is bringing to me. So that's where it begins. We went on to Avila in Spain, Ernesto and I did, and we had a tour where Teresa of Avila lived and worked. And like I said, some of those things I think will appear next week because it really made an impression upon me. A woman whose writing is still considered, I think she was made into a theologian of the church, which for a woman at that day and age who was a writer is almost unheard of. And our guide particularly made an impression upon me. That's a little more next week. So I flew from Madrid and met up with Lyle in Naples. And we went from Naples to Herculaneum, is that how you say it?
Herculaneum.
Herculaneum, which is another area like Pompeii, but the erupting volcano killed so many people. And we took a tour of that area. And then we went on to the Amalfi Coast. And oh my goodness, the views. So we stayed in a little fishing village called Coca de Marini. And that's a view from kind of where we stayed on the left there. And that's the cathedral in Amalfi. And then way up high in the town, I can't remember the name, Lyle. Ravello. A lot of churches. Then after the Amalfi Coast, we were there for a week. We went to Matera, Italy. Matera is a very unique place. Lots of dwellings carved out of stone, a lot of rock churches that were decommissioned during the time in which Matera was considered the shame of Italy. So much poverty. People were living in caves in unhealthy conditions. Disease was rampant. And so the Italian government moved everyone out into high rises. And it was vacant for years, so churches were vandalized. They believe that Matera is one of the areas in the world where people have lived the longest. So its history goes deep. So this is Matera at night, which is so beautiful and romantic. And one of the rock churches in the middle, and then one of their cathedrals. Also, if you watch the opening scene of the last 007 movie, it was filmed in Matera, as was The Passion of the Christ, the last scene of him walking through the area, walking the way of the cross. And then Lyle and I, across from our Airbnb, they were filming the crucifixion of The Chosen. Some of you have heard of The Chosen, which is a Jesus series that is being still filmed and shown, and they were filming that there. After Matera, we went to Puglia, which is the heel of the boot in Italy. Had amazing food. It's very much Greek influenced, a lot of whitewashed buildings, so it's very different than Amalfi, which is very colorful. And we stayed in a little Trulli. That's this building right here. They dot the landscape of that area. They're very visually apparent.
Did they have cone-shaped roofs?
Yeah, cone-shaped roofs. And the reason we're told is that they had to do with taxation. If they came around to collect your taxes and your building, your house wasn't completed, which they could easily dismantle the stones at the top and say, our house isn't done. And so we don't have to pay taxes on it. And then the tax guy would leave and they would assemble the top of their house. So they dot the landscape and we got to stay in one, which was really fun. After returning from Europe, I was there 6 weeks. I had 3 weeks at home. I had an opportunity to get bored, which I think is a good thing. But then I went on to visit family. And so the first slide on the left was over a lake in Arkansas, and that was actually a moon rise. We sat and watched the moon rise. I don't know when I've done that last. And then I went on to Maine, and that's the second picture on the right, and that is a sunset. So there was time to do that sort of pondering and watching. Here we are in Maine. We're at the Clam Festival on the far right with a dressed up clam, getting ice cream with friends, and taking a boat ride in beautiful Maine. And then we went to Sacred, New Mexico. Lyle and I go once a year. We have for the last 17 years to this little adobe house off the end of a dirt road. And it's one of Lyle's favorite vacations. There's a lot of time to think and to be and to walk. And so these are some of the scenes in that space.
Saw our first rattlesnake.
We did, yeah.
Pretty good record. Year of the snake.
Once in 17 years.
What's that?
It's the year of the snake.
Yeah, okay.
Fortunately, it didn't get Maggie because Maggie was the one it rattled its rattles at. And that is, yeah. So more to come next week, some of the highlights, some of the things that are percolating still with me that will be takeaways. No, we can share.
Thank you, Felicia. I just want to remind us all where we began this season of pilgrimage. We began years ago, actually, when Felicia started thinking about her dates, but when we began together to go on pilgrimage was the very beginning of Lent. So it's been almost 6 months. And in a little bit, I'm going to guide us through a visualization or a meditation where you can kind of gather your own experiences of the past 6 months. But I want to remind us where we have been together. So during Lent, we spent every adult forum really talking about a different aspect of pilgrimages. We did an introduction, and then Lori, who's online, I think, on her own pilgrimage right now, talked about Jesus' time in the desert one Sunday. Lori and Sarah led us through the hero's journey, which was so much fun. We talked about Tolkien and Star Wars and Toy Story and many other hero's journeys, which were good foundation for us to set out on our own tracks. Felicia introduced us to the Camino and to Peregrinatio, this idea or this practice the Celts used to have of just setting out in a little boat and seeing where God led them. Very different from your GPS. Raven taught us a practice he's developed over decades of sensory walk. Different ways we can really work to be present as we're walking, whatever way we're walking. And then our last Sunday in Lent, we talked about using the Stations of the Cross as a pilgrimage of surrender. So with all of that as our foundation, then we started doing our own things together. We had a labyrinth workshop. You remember Mary came and talked to us and we did finger labyrinths, which I still have, by the way. I have all of the links to those. So if anybody didn't get one or you want more finger labyrinths, we can make some for the group. All right. And then Lori and Barb taught us about Wild-ish Church, Church in the Wild. And then we got to spend Sunday, May 18th, out having church by that beautiful willow tree. And we went to Lyons to explore this incredible labyrinth there. And if some of you have not been able to go there, we all, I think, highly recommend it. I think Welfa thinks she should get paid by the city of Lyons for all the publicity she's given. Those of you who don't know, this is a labyrinth that was created after the 2013 flood. And it uses river rock that was washed up during that flood. And it's really a grief labyrinth, so that people come and they leave beautiful, lovely, heartfelt artworks, craftsworks, notes to their beloved. So walking is a slow process because you're stopping every moment to look at these incredibly heartfelt offerings. We did 3 pilgrimages from our church to different places that are important to St. Paul's. The first one, we'll talk about this maybe next week, but it's to where we thought the Golden Grape was. We walked to this location. That's the very beginning of St. Paul's. Many of you know that history, where we began as a group of people led by a priest, really alternative in the day and age, at coffee shops. So we walked there, and then, oh, this is fun. Peter, do you remember, he gave us a teaching on inner pilgrimage, emotional intelligence, and we have this incredible little pathway to how to really go inward as a way of pilgrimage to work our way toward the epitome of love and being love in the world. And then we walked from here to PBH, to Buda Valley Hospital, to honor another part in our history, and that is the death of Matthew Shepard and his being given less rights. Both of those pilgrimages really were about connecting with who we've been, who we are in our kind of DNA as a church. And then we watched together The Lord of the Rings, the trilogy, which for some of us was the 25th, 50th time, I don't know. For some of us, it's the first time I made it through without falling asleep. So we watched those. And our last pilgrimage was really about who we are today as a church. We walked to First Presbyterian Church, and we did that because Matthew's house, who's the first recipient of one of our grants, has been connected, has been giving some services there at First Presbyterian Church, and various other places. All right, I'm gonna guide us, like I said, in a little visualization to help us share in a guided way. But what I wanna do now is, Reagan, if you could go ahead and go so that we settle. He's gonna go to be with our people online. And what I want you to do before the meditation is just pair off. We're gonna do partner sharing after this. I want us to kind of go straight from the guided meditation into the partner sharing. So if there's an odd number, I'll be with somebody. If there is not, I will skip out, but turn and make sure 1, 2, 1, 2, pair up. Oh, I'm so sorry, Terry, I'm sorry. She asked me to do something and I totally forgot. Terry wanted you to know she is not sick. That's not why she has on a mask. She is protecting herself because she's taking a certain medication. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
So you know now. So she's not off limits for.
1.
Oh, 2.
1.
Yeah, just go to be by your partner. Yeah, that's great.
We're 1, 2.
Okay.
We're gonna do our thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who doesn't have a partner?
I might not.
Right behind you.
We actually need to choose. So yeah, do you have somebody? Who doesn't have? Maggie, do you not?
Not yet.
Felicia, can you do Maggie?
Sure, okay, Maggie.
Okay, perfect. So I'll guide us through the share in just a minute. You can, it doesn't matter, you don't need this slide. So now what I want you to do is close your eyes if you're comfortable. For those of you who are not comfortable, just have kind of a soft focus. And I want you to try to remember last March, the beginning of Lent. Anything that arises for you about Lent, about your time in Lent. Just allow words or images or memories to come into your mind or into your heart. Don't work too hard at this, just kind of gently invite your psyche to share with you, when we began this pilgrimage, what was going on for you in your world? Kind of allowing kind of that movie to go forward into the spring, thinking about Easter, thinking about your spring. Gathering any imagery or memories about places you've been in the spring of this year. They might be physical, they might be more internal. If you can recall spring and then moving into summer, as I said, don't try to force any thoughts, just notice what pops up in your memory and your psyche about your springtime and your summer. Journeys you've been on in the created world, in the physical world. Journeys you've been on in your relationships, maybe. Journeys you've been on with your physical health. Journeys you've been on in your spiritual life and anything inward. And now letting all of that go, and inviting maybe a word or a couple words to come into your mind and your heart. And kind of crystallize these past 6 months for you. What's happened to you, within you, and around you in the past 6 months? And if nothing comes up, don't worry about that. If you're surprised by the word that comes up, don't worry about that. Gently opening your eyes and turning to your partner. So, like, they can't hear you. They need to not be in their groups.
Okay, I already just took them out of their groups, so, but now we can go ahead and create the bonus count.
Yes, now they can be in groups. They need to do a partnership. So I'm gonna time this. Thank you for waiting. I'm gonna time this. Whoever has on the brighter color is gonna go first. Decide who that is. It's hard for some of us, then you just decide. All right, the first partner is gonna share. If you got a word or a couple of words, my invitation is to start with those, even if they were surprising. So share for 3 minutes, no crosstalk, please. The other partner just receive and listen. Then I will let you know when it's time to switch. Okay? Ready, go.
And then I you know, I had to do some about it. I knew where she was going, but I learned much
yeah, we've been a lot of, all right, friends, that partner just finished up that sentence. And now we are going to switch. So second partner, it's your turn now. Same instructions.
And you know, states they shouldn't have to handle them. And so it's just kind of like information out. So she was walking when, you know, it's a little bit of so like my first thought was when I was super and the city was realized, you know, so it's a lot more, it's just more tiring when I don't know. And so, whatever that was, you know. So then, jumping ahead, then I guess to science and to grade zero. So I joined the Sept club. So I turned 16 so I got to get into my grade school, not grade school, like high school. I always graduated, which is my favorite time. And I got you know, like, but again, but yeah, it was fantastic because we did some meditation. It was like carpentry for girls weekend, you know, corn dogs. You know what I mean? Like it was this great weekend. And so that was I thought Felicia was great, like Felicia, but you well, I don't know, some nice. Some fat, like some fat little friendly snake, just here to help out, just here to be in the garden to help out. Yeah, I'll let you see you some relatives. Yeah, exactly. Well,
Okay, friends, second partner, complete your thought. All right, friends, second partner, complete your thought, and we'll come back to the group.
Yeah, well. Well, so it's coming down to.
Go back.
Yeah.
Is everybody back? Okay. So we have about 10 minutes to do a group share. So if anyone would like to share just a snippet of what you just shared with your partner, we would love to hear it. We have a big group, so we'll keep them really short. As I said, this is just the beginning of sharing, so. What'd you notice about yourself this past 6 months in village? Betsy?
Mine has been with my stomach surgery and weight loss, and it is take it slow. Because things are not going to go as quickly as I thought. Because some other issues have cropped up, and take it slow is okay.
Thank you, thank you. And one thing I want to share, you just reminded me, Betsy, a lot of times our little messages that we get are not only for us. So I'm sure there are others I'm benefiting from that message. So yeah, be open with your sharing because you might not know who it might benefit. Please. Thank you. Yeah, Joan.
Well, ironically, I got recovery as one of the words, because I'm recovering from having my shoulder replaced, learning how to take it slow.
I love this.
Against, because I was raised in New York, we don't do that.
You don't do slow. Thank
So it's in our common pilgrimages.
Beautiful.
I'd say for me, finding a light or a peaceful path through the chaos. That in my life, after many, many losses, new births, weddings, young people moving along, and also finding my voice in the choir. That I actually can sing without croaking if I keep
Thank you.
Okay.
I think one thing we talked about was back, 6 months ago, Lent, And somewhere, somehow, somewhere along the line, it wasn't what you can give up, it was a sermon, what you can give up, but maybe what you can take on. And I think we've taken some things on, and it's been a good ride here, should run. Thanks.
Thank you. Other shares?
One word I had was just appreciation for being here, for St. Paul's, for Collins, for family, for Peter.
Yeah.
You did a good job. And just appreciating exactly where I am.
Thank you, Jen. Yeah. One thing that came up for me as I was watching you, and this always happens here, when I get to watch you all in partner shares or in group shares, it's amazing how well we show up for each other, and just to watch you listen to each other. And that's one thing I got from our walking together this summer. There have been many years in my life where I can't walk and talk at the same time. I don't have enough air. I have to choose. But this summer I was lucky to be able to do both, especially with my friends who didn't race. But I got to talk to every single person on each journey. And that sense of just listening and being listened to was big for me this summer. So thank you.
So we have been on a pilgrimage of our own here for the past year. This is Paul and Beth. And we moved to Oregon about a year ago. And for us, life has become so simple. So we're in this very small town on the coast in Oregon, and just the ability to disconnect from all that stuff that's going on in the world and connect with nature and with each other in ways that we just didn't in our previous life, and then connect with this community who that has a very welcoming and welcoming approach, and it attracts people that value those kinds of things. Has really been a special experience.
Thank you. It's so good to see you, friends.
Well, and at the same time, St. Paul's was such an important part, I know, of my life, I think both of our lives. And so every now and then we would sit in, so we kept up all this time. We've kept up with what you're doing, even though we couldn't be there. And it's really, really heartwarming to see how you dealt with this past 6 months, and it looks like have grown so much together through it.
Our new church has a connection with Lori,
Yeah.
very personal connection with Lori. So it's
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm coming back from being out on the ocean land where you've been, Beth and Paul, and it's good to see you, man. Seems like it's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're driving through Nevada right now, and it has been just a little hard to hear, but what I'm getting is the sense of, what is the word from both the pilgrimages we went on this summer, and that for me also has been a lot about community and the value of the St. Paul's community to me. And I want to root myself more deeply in that spiritual community with you all and find ways to really put words to it and to be present to it in a deep way. And then out at the ocean, connecting with the very heart of the ocean itself. It's so big. Holy cow. It just it just goes on forever. This time I really noticed that. But out of my meditations and communications with the whales, so on, my spiritual director said, make a song for the whales. And I tried that, and it finally came down to this one essence, which is give me a word. And so that was my song to them when I went out on the boat. And sure enough, they did. And the word was, we will survive. We will survive. So that's me. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
Thanks, Lori.
Thank you, Lori. Mine, and I've probably preached on it, but the absolute diversity that I experience in walking the Camino, the diversity of language and culture and age, the diversity of landscape, and all the travels that we did, and seeing that as a feature of who God is. The beauty in that diversity adds so much. And I mean, I don't know, I appreciated that message right now when so many people are so afraid of people that aren't like us. So that was just driven home to me more deeply in the sabbatical and pilgrimage.
Thank you, Felicia. Anybody else before we go? There's still lots of time. Like I said, this is just the beginning. So next week, Felicia will share a little bit more about what's been given to her in terms of questions and keys, thoughts for our community, and we'll do the same. So if you have time this week in your walks or in your prayers, maybe allow yourself to be led to the same thing. What's been put in my heart or on my mind by God for St. Paul's? And we'll do some integration of that. We'll discuss that. We'll do some integration. We'll do a little artwork. No prizes. This is craft. Working on our timeline down on the holly that we created, that Lori created, the pictures. So those of you online, if you know you're going to be online next week, if you could just have maybe some blank paper and crayons or markers or colored pencils, anything you want to use to join us in that, and we can get your pieces and add them to what we work with next week. Anything else?
I think so. All right. Thank you for being here. And the journey continues.
Thank you all.
There is, yeah.
So right over here, they have now patio.
It wasn't for
You can always give me a call.
Probably a foot away from it. And that's, it's travel. And if
It looks big. We're all under fire.
That's a disaster.
I think I was kind of there, except I had a big house and had a child that got it. Yeah, I got some really, in the middle of what I was supposed Very much so, yeah. Oh, I know. I was thinking, I had my last one, and I have it in my bag now. You know, I was thinking about. Hey, good morning. I picked up on a degree
Send me, just text me.
yeah.
Mix it up.
Go ahead.